Hello everyone. Today we're going to learn daily Tanya for Aleph Elul for the year Tafshin Pei Daled. The year's almost over. Tafshin Pei Daled. We're in Elul. It's time to do Tshuva. So say Tshuva, Tefillah, Tzedakah, Ma'avir, and Torah Gzera. So let's get to it. So we spoke yesterday about how the Torah comes from a place of Chesed, a place of Yamin, the right hand of God. Mimina Eish Das Lama, right? From his right hand, the fire of his command was given to another. So it's from the right hand, and then we say through the fire. Okay, so the fire is a sort of mediator here, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. So let's get to it. Okay, so we're saying because, right, the mitzvahs are given to us through this sort of mediation of limitation, of fire, of gevura, of rigor, right? לכן רוב המצוות יש להן שיעור מצומצם. Right, so because of that, most mitzvahs have a kind of, they have a limit. They're done with limited things. They're done with things which are bounded. And we're going to give a bunch of examples. Right, for example, the length of tzitzis is 12 agudalim, which is a measurement used by Chazal. It's even used by the Torah, actually. Tefillin nitzbayim on nitzbayim. Right, tefillin is 2 etzba by 2 etzba. Umeroba'ot davka, right, and they're square. Ve'lulav dalet tfachim, and the lulav is 4 tfachim. Ve'asuka zayin tfachim, and the sukkah is 7 tfachim. Ve'shofar tefach, and the shofar is a tefach large, or at least a tefach large. Ve'amikveh 40 sa, and a mikveh needs to be 10 sa, right, which is measurement of how much water it needs to have in it. So these are all things that are bounded in their space. We're going to talk about things that are bounded in time. וכן בקורבנות יש להם שיעור מצומצם לזמן כמו כבשים בני שנה ואלים בני שנתיים ופרים וכו'. So also the korbanos, the offerings, they need to be of a certain age. וכן במעשה הצדקה וגמילות חסדים. So this is also true in charity and in the giving of and the giving to the poor. בממונו. אף שהוא מהעמודים שהעולם עומד עליהם, right? Even though this is one of the pillars upon which the world stands. וכדכתיב עולם חסד ייבנה, and it is written, a world of chesed, a world of giving, a world of charity will be built, or by charity shall the world be built. אפילו הכי, even so, יש לה שיעור קצוב חומש למצווה מן המובחר ומעשר למידה בינונית וכו'. Even so, even this grand mitzvah that holds up the world, so to speak, even this has a measure, which is a 1/10 of one's income to give to the poor. This is sort of a medium measure, and a 1/5 of one's income. This is a choice measure. That's the way to do it. And this is called chesed olam. In other words, worldly charity, let's say. Pirush chesed el kol hayom. Right, this is the charity given by Hashem, hamitlabesh ba'olamot elyonim v'tachtonim, right, which sort of is clothed in the higher worlds, it clothes itself in the higher and lower world, right? It brings itself down into the world. Okay, but this happens through the awakening from below, which is by the charity that people give each other, right? And this is what brings life to the world. Right? Even though the world is, and because the world is bounded, the world, has a certain size and exists for a certain time, for a certain amount of time. Therefore, you only need a measure of tzedakah in order to keep it going. Right, so he sort of, he gives a little bit of detail. Ma'aretz ad larakia, right from the earth to the firmament, Tafkuf Shana, right, is a 500-year walk. And so from firmament to firmament, from heaven to heaven, up to the seven heavens, right? Right, and the world exists for 6,000 years. לכן ניתן שיעור מידה, גם כן מצוות הצדקה והחסד שבתורה, כל השאר מצוות התורה, right? And therefore, because it's a worldly thing, and mitzvahs are done through worldly things, therefore, we have a sort of a boundary around the definition of the mitzvah of tzedakah. כל השאר מצוות התורה. Okay, so tzedakah, just like any other mitzvah, has its boundary. אך היינו דווקא לשומר התורה, ולא שר ממנה ימין ושמאל, אפילו כמלוא נימה. Right, but this is only for a person who keeps Torah and doesn't stray from it even a hair's breadth. Right, because he's doing the mitzvah, so do the mitzvah you need to do, and that's what you do. אבל מי שהעביר עליו הדרך, חס ושלום, somebody who strayed off the path, God forbid, מאחר שהאהבה דרכו לתת מגרעות בקודש העליון, שגרע ערכו, right, so because he, so to speak, took his value, right, he sort of subtracted his own value, that which he could have done in the world for God in order to bring about God's presence, he doesn't do this. מבחינת המשכתו, מה שיכול היה להמשיך מבחינת אלוקותו והארת האור מאור אינסוף ברוך הוא, right, in other words, if he would have kept the Torah as he was supposed to, he would have manifested God's will in the world. And instead, he, as it were, sort of took that away from God, so to speak. אינסוף ברוך הוא אילו היה שומר את התורה ומקיימה כהלכתה, הרי זה מעוות לא יכול לתקן. This is something that is, according to the way of the world, cannot be fixed. But there is a way it can be fixed. כי אם בהמשכת האור העליון שלמעלה מהעולמות, ואינו מתלבש בהם. Okay? הנקרא חסד עילה ורב חסד. Okay? So the only way to fix something like that is by, as we're manifesting something higher than the sort of the will of God for the world to exist, sort of as it does, right? To take from a sort of deeper place in the will of God, to more deeply manifest it. And this is called chesed ilah. This is called the higher chesed, the higher charity, the rav chesed, and the great charity. לפי שמאיר ומתפשט בבחינת אינסוף בלי גבול ומידה. Right? And this is a kind of charity that is boundless and limitless. מאחר שאינו מצומצם תוך העולמות, because it doesn't on its own accord exist within the world. It's not part of the way of the world. It's transcendent. אלא בבחינת מקיף עליהם מלמעלה, מריש כל דרגין עד סוף כל דרגין. So it transcends the world, but its relationship to the world is that it is, as it were, around the world. Right? It creates the very basis upon which the world can even stand in the first place. וכשהאדם ממשיכו למטה במעשיו להתערות הדלתתא, right? But when somebody gives chesed without measure, gives charity without measure, does this in his own actions, אזי אור עליון זה מאיר ומתפשט תוך העולמות ומתקן כל מעוות וכל מגרעות שניתנו בקודש העליון. Right? It is when a person does that, then he can manifest this will of God, this deeper will of God, which is to give without measure. And he can therefore fix everywhere, all the places where he might have stumbled. Not only that, when he sort of corrects these things about himself, because he manifests the sort of higher will of God, when he corrects his path, when he, as it were, repays his debt to God, not only does he repay it, but he, so to speak, repays it with interest, which is, of course, something you're not allowed to do, but, it's a figure of speech. The point is that he repays it, and He makes those places shine even brighter. B'vchinat ol chadash mamash, right, like a new light. And this is why they said in a place where Baalei Tshuva, where the people who repent and return to God from where they strayed, even the highest tzaddikim, the highest righteous ones, can't stand it. They can't be in that same place, and so we should work on ourselves to try to live without measure, live in charity without measure, and just give as we can, and even more. To pray that God will give us the ability once we get there. All right, everyone, take care. See you tomorrow.